Hi, and welcome to Mr. Berman's community. Hi, and welcome to Mr. Berman's community. I'm your host, Richard Berman, and with me today in the studio, I have my guest, Mr. James Parker. He's our fearless editor for the Black Seed Writers Group, and he also works for the Atlantic News magazine. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Rich. Very honored to be here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And the first question is, about your book.
Mm-hmm. What would you like to know?
This is your first published book?
No, it's actually my second.
Huh?
When I was 28, 29, I published a book in England
Yeah.
about a punk rock singer called Henry Rollins. It was a biography of him. And it's kind of weird. It's been nearly 30 years since I wrote that book. But I do things at my own pace, I suppose, like you do. And so this is my second book.
Oh, this is the second one.
Yeah. But this book is a little more like me, I think. It's a little closer to who I am.
Yeah.
Definitely who I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, when did you start the Black Seed Writers Group?
The Black Seed Writers Group started in November 2011.
Yeah.
When did you join, Rich? When was that? Can you remember? Because I get very confused about the years. They're all a blur.
Actually, I remember when Kevin Neal agreed to become my first scribe.
Right. That was a big moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because when Kevin began to scribe for you,
Yeah.
between the two of you,
Yeah.
you kind of worked out what your language on the page was going to be, right?
Yeah.
It was kind of a collaboration.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting. Scribing is a fascinating thing because, shall I explain to the viewers what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Black Seed Writers Group, which is a writers group for homeless, transitional and recently housed writers, and it's a space, that's what we say about it, isn't it? It's a space to write in. Yeah. It's not therapy, it's not a ministry, it's not social work, it's not a classroom, it's a space to write in, and we hold that space, me and you and all the other writers, every week, every Tuesday morning, 9:30 to 10:45 at the Cathedral Church of St. Paul.
Yeah.
All are welcome. And so some writers, they're, for many different reasons, need some help with the writing, the physical act of writing. You're one of them. So the way it works is that you will speak, you will talk, and somebody will write it down.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference who is writing it down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes a big difference not which words they hear, but how it comes out depends on the body that it's coming through. It's fascinating, right? Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Right. So and it's a relationship. It's not a mechanical act of transcription. It's a relationship. And you and Kevin had a great friendship.
Yeah.
So because you had this lovely understanding, the words that were generated between the two of you in the act of transcription were very, very interesting. And I think that's how you began to develop your style. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would have been what, like 2015, 2016, something like that?
I think so.
Yeah. So before that, when we started, it was the very first meeting of the Black Seed Writers Group was me and Paul Estes, the sexton, in the Black Seed Cafe. That was it, just the two of us.
Yeah.
Week after, there were about 5-6 people We got to that, there were probably 10 people.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months later, we got thrown out of the Black Seed Cafe in a very gentle way. They were very nice to us, the lovely Muslim men who used to run that place. Beautiful. But they said, we just, we can't do this every week. You know what I mean? Like 15 of you just sitting around. So then we went into the cathedral.
Yeah.
And we started up on the second floor in the conference room.
Yeah.
Did you join at that point or not
No.
till we got downstairs?
When we were down.
Right, then we went down to the basement and that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when did the Pilgrim first came out?
The Pilgrim, well, the Pilgrim and the Black Seed Writers Group are completely simultaneous.
Yeah.
Like the first Pilgrim, I published that within a couple of weeks
Yeah.
of starting Writers Group, because that was the whole. That was the way it went in my head. At first, I thought of the Pilgrim.
Yeah.
I thought we need to publish a magazine. We need to get these guys writing. We need to hear from them and publish it in a magazine.
Yeah.
But then I thought, how are we going to make that happen? How are we going to organise the writing? So I thought we have to meet regularly. Well, I'll have to bring the pens and the paper, and I'll have to supply the coffee, and some kind of guidance or support if I can. And that's so the writers group, in effect, became a kind of engine for the Pilgrim. That's how it started.
Yeah.
A way to make the Pilgrim happen.
Yeah.
So the first Pilgrim happened in November 2011,
Yeah.
which was now 53 issues ago.
Yeah.
Not bad, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very proud of it. I know you're very proud of it.
Yeah. Because. Yeah. Yeah. When did you start doing like live readings?
That was about a year later. And that most of the good things in my life have not been my idea. Other people have suggested them,
Yeah.
And that was a really good example because it was my friend Lisa
Yeah.
up at the Booksmith. You've met her, I think.
Yeah.
She, I would talk to her about what I was doing. I'd tell her about the Pilgrim. And she said, why don't you should do a reading. You guys should have a public reading here. Because, you know this place and we know you and we can make it just how you want. And to be honest, the first time I wasn't sure if we'd be able to put it off. Do you know what I mean? If we'd all be able to go out in public, and I didn't know how it would be for the writers when they first got that kind of attention or exposure or that pressure of having people there. But it turned out to be very beautiful. It turns out that the crowd is the presence of a supportive crowd, which it always is great for writers. I mean, it sounds obvious now, but that we kind of learned that.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel when you're reading?
Oh, actually, I love that.
Yeah, it feels great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's to hear your writing, to hear your words, to hear the oxygen hitting your words.
Yeah.
And then them kind of catching fire, in the minds and ears of the audience. It's beautiful. I
Yeah. And we usually get a full house.
Yeah. I mean, the only times we didn't get full houses was COVID.
Yeah.
When we had some very, very quiet readings. Were you at the one that we did in Roxbury Public Library?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure where you were that day. We went off there on I think it was a Tuesday after Writers Group, and it was 5-6 writers, and it was literally just the writers and me and Christy, and the security guard from the library. That was it. That was the whole audience.
Yeah.
But it was still good though, because the writers were reading to each other.
Yeah.
And we did a few on Zoom. Remember?
Yeah.
They were kind of weird, weren't they?
Yeah, I remember. That was during COVID.
Yeah, deep COVID. I mean, the first ones we did in the little room, out to Brockton Public Library and things like that. Then we did bigger ones from the sanctuary, from inside the cathedral.
Yeah. That was when
when we had people online watching us.
when that virus came in.
The damn virus, as you call it,
Yeah.
as you've always called it, yeah.
Part our own language.
Huh? Oh, pardon the language, yeah. That's not too severe.
Yeah.
What else, Rich? What else do you want to know?
And then I remember during COVID, we saw you on the screen.
Yeah, right. I zoomed in. Well, there was a couple of months, before anybody really understood what was dangerous and what wasn't dangerous, where I couldn't come down to the cathedral because I was living with my wife and my son.
Yeah.
And I thought, just tried to think it through, and I was like, I can't keep kind of going down and exposing myself and bringing it back to the house. So for a couple of months, I didn't come down.
Yeah.
And you guys didn't stop. Christy didn't stop. Jennifer didn't stop.
Yeah.
You guys just carried on.
Yeah.
And fairly quickly, thank goodness, I realised that it was better to be down there with you than up at my place on Zoom. Yeah. So by June 2019, we were back in business properly.
Yeah.
But I really did not enjoy the pandemic very much as it related to Writers Group because of the masks. That was such a drag for everyone.
Yeah.
And what it meant for us, for the team, is that we had to spend the whole time walking around going, "Could you put your mask on? Could you pull your mask up? Get it over your nose. Put your mask up." And if somebody didn't listen, we had to ask them to leave, which is terrible.
Yeah.
So the job, our job, sort of changed radically from being supportive and editorial to being these kind of mask vigilantes. Such a pain.
Yeah.
But we had to do it. Those were the rules, right?
Yeah, I remember.
In Massachusetts, those were the rules. If we wanted to maintain that space and keep it running, that was what we had to do.
Yeah.
It was a drag, though. It was a real. I'm glad we made it through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because for a while, honestly, I thought this might be the end of us. This might do us in. If I'm spending all my time walking around saying, "Pull your mask over your nose," to guys who really don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And when did people start publishing their
The broadsheets?
their broadsheets?
So the broadsheets, let's just explain so publishing is very important to us, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the first step, the first layer of publishing is what we call the printout.
Yeah.
That happens every week, and that's the typed up edition of everybody's writing that they did the week before.
Yeah.
People write pen and paper, they hand it in, we type it up, and we hand it back to them all printed out and nice, stapled together. That's called the printout.
Yeah.
Then there's the broadsheets,
Yeah.
which is when a writer has written enough stuff to fill a 20-page pamphlet, essentially, then we publish that as a broadsheet.
Yeah.
And after that, in between the printout and the broadsheets, there's the Pilgrim, which is the magazine.
Yeah.
And everybody gets into the Pilgrim, one piece each every
Yeah.
month. So the broadsheets started. It took probably three years
Yeah.
before they started, and I wasn't sure if it would work.
Yeah.
Because the way we do it is we print the broadsheets, then we give them to the writer,
Yeah.
and the writer does whatever he, she, or they want with it, right? They can
Yeah.
sell them, they can give them away,
Yeah.
they can throw them out the window, they can burn them, whatever they like. There's no, one of the things, ideally I would like for the writers to be able to make some money off them, because it's nice to make money off your writing, and they
Yeah.
deserve to make money because the writing is great.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to get in between the writers and the money. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want writers coming to me saying, you owe me $10 because you sold 3 broadsheets or whatever it is. So we leave all that to the writers. They sell it, they do what they like. But I still wasn't sure that it would work.
No.
So the first ones that I published were Chris the Drifter,
Yeah.
Roger Morris,
Yeah.
and I think Bryant Draker.
Yeah.
Because I thought if it works with these guys, it's
Yeah.
definitely gonna work. And it really did work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many have you published, Rich? How many do you have to your name now? Broadsheets. How many different titles have you got? There's your dramatic works.
Yeah.
There's Unstoppable.
Yeah.
There's one before that, right? I forget the title.
Was it my? It had a.
Mr. Berman's Year.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Mr. Berman's.
Mr. Berman's Year, and then
That-
Unstoppable, and then all your plays,
Yeah.
your dramatic works. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, Big Loud Voice. Isn't that what it's called? God, Big Loud Voice.
Yeah.
The dramatic works of Richard Berman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we print them up. It's easily done. The cathedral has a printer.
Yeah.
Dave Capone, our publisher,
Yeah.
you know, he's on the printer banging out the broadsheets. It's a good system, I think.
Yeah.
And then when we have readings, we sell the broadsheets, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we give the money out that night.
Yeah.
That's the only time that we have any control over the money,
Yeah.
and we give it straight back to the writers that night.
Yeah. And how did you get involved with the Atlantic news magazine?
So I've been writing for the Atlantic. That predates Writers Group by a couple of years.
Yeah.
I wasn't a staff writer, but I was already a freelancer for the Atlantic.
Yeah.
I got involved with that because I was just doing journalism in Boston. I wrote for the Boston Globe. Do you remember the Boston Phoenix? Do you remember that paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to write for them. I was a staff writer for the Phoenix, so I sat in the office. I had a desk. And I think in about 2008, 2009, the Atlantic asked me if I wanted to write for them.
Yeah.
So I went down to Washington, D.C., where the offices are. I mean, they've moved buildings, but they're still in D.C. And I interviewed, and they gave me the job.
Yeah.
So, and that's been my job ever since.
Yeah.
I'm very, very lucky, and the Atlantic has been very, very supportive
Yeah.
of Writers Group.
Yeah.
I mean, I think were you at the reading where Jeff Goldberg came, the editor of the Atlantic? He came to one of our readings during COVID, and I made a big noise about it. I said, "This is my editor. I'm your editor. This is my editor. This is the guy who takes care of my writing." And he bought a lot of broadsheets. He got people to sign their broadsheets. I think you probably met him that night.
Was that at the cathedral?
No, this was at the bookstore, at the Booksmith. One of the later, everyone was in masks, but we were downstairs at the Booksmith.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was pretty quiet reading. I mean, Jeff really enjoyed himself, but I wanted to say, our readings can be a little bit wilder than this sometimes,
Yeah. 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 And when did I start writing the scripts for the plays?
When did we start publishing, or when did you start writing them?
When did I start writing them?
I think probably after about less than a year after you started coming to Writers Group,
Yeah.
the plays began because that was a you and Kevin thing, right?
Yeah, the first one was the Easter play, The Death of Jesus.
The Death of Jesus, exactly. And that was, and that was very exciting to me when I read that, and even more exciting when I first saw it performed.
Yeah.
Because that's when I understood that you were, reinventing in a way, this amazing kind of folk theatre. You know, it's kind of half fairy tale, it's half Bible story, it's half, you know, what are those, Paw Patrol, right? It's got little touches of cartoon and stuff in there, superheroes.
Yeah.
But it's your own thing, and you
Yeah.
blend it all together so beautifully.
Yeah.
And it's very religious, but it's religious in a very free, you know, you're very confident in the way that you interpret these stories, you know, in putting your own spin on them. So for me, it reminds me of medieval kind of mystery plays that they were putting on back then, where they would really explore different ideas in the Bible and different themes, and, you know, make them very relevant to themselves locally. And that's the other thing, you always have really local characters. Like, it always amuses me when you're annoyed with somebody and you put them in your play as a baddie.
Yeah.
I always enjoy that. That's how you get your revenge, right?
Yeah.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you've written, how many plays have you written? Now, 4 or 5? And I think the last one was the best, actually. The one that you and me and John, remember John was helping us? He was chipping in little ideas.
Yeah.
And there was the big aerial battle over Boston Common. That's a pretty wild scene. There's people riding pigeons, and, you know, there's a unicorn. It's really good. It's really good.
That was a new one.
That's the latest one, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to write about how I wanted to let people know how I made it in the hospital.
Right. That's right. Right, because your character
Yeah.
in that play isn't on stage very much, because
Yeah.
you're in hospital, right?
Yeah.
You're away from the action.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. It's very interesting, Rich.
Yeah. And there was another time
Mm-hmm.
I was writing one of my plays was about, I think it was called Super Angel and the Divine Psychics Battle of the coronavirus.
Right. Right. I mean, you engaged very directly in your mythical way, with the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of writers wrote amazing things about the pandemic, because it was very hard on people who were on the street. Very hard.
And when I was writing it, December 2020,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up getting it.
That's right. But you got through it pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you did go to hospital, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was out like,
Did you just have it once?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was practically out practically the whole December.
Right. That's right. That's right. You're very tough, Rich.
Yeah. And we were supposed to perform it on my birthday,
That's right.
but we had to move it to February
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
because all the people who were going to be in the cast they went on vacation.
That's right. And some of them were sick too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but we got through it, didn't we? We limped through it,
Yeah.
and here we are.
Yeah. Do we have any upcoming readings?
We do, and I've been thinking about this because when we discussed this interview, we were planning, or we were hoping that I would have a date
Yeah.
that I could tell the viewers about. I don't actually have that date, but I can confidently say that sometime in the fall,
Yeah.
watch this space, because we will be reading again at the Boston Public Library
Yeah.
down in that big whatever that big room is called.
The dealer.
Huh?
The auditorium.
Yeah, the auditorium, exactly. Which I think that's actually that's about the right scale for us, the right size for us, don't you think?
Yeah.
We need a big stage, we need a big auditorium because lots of people like to see us, and we've just done it once, but it really, really worked.
Actually, I remember the first time we did it in December.
Last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did something different.
You did. We performed a scene, or a scene was performed from one of your plays, and you got some people from the crowd. You got volunteers basically, right? To play the different parts, which I really like that because it breaks up the rhythm of the reading a lot. It stops it from being just one. I mean, all the writers are very, very different, so there's never any monotony, but it is nice to have a different kind of spectacle, and the performance of a little play, pretty short, just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It really gets the evening going, I think.
And that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because I was honoring Reverend Jennifer.
That's right. That's right. That was an important thing that we were saying with that scene. We were honoring the bravery of Jennifer McCracken, Reverend Jennifer, in keeping the doors open all through COVID.
Yeah.
Which she did at considerable personal risk.
Yeah.
As we now know.
Yeah.
But she did that, and Manor was the only game in town, right?
Yeah.
For quite a while.
Yeah. If people get in touch with you, they want to do live readings.
Anybody who wants to get in touch. The Pilgrim has a website, thepilgrim.org, and my email is on there. The Pilgrim, I think it's thepilgrimeditor@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So please get in touch if you want to know anything about when I come to the readings. Interested in helping out a writers group, perhaps.
Yeah, because we do need some scribes.
We always need help. I mean, we make it.
Yeah.
But help is always welcome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we meet every Tuesday morning.
Every Tuesday morning, 9:30 to 10:45, in the basement of the Cathedral Church of St. Paul on Tremont Street.
Yeah.
Right by Park Street T.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Ashley, I want to thank you for joining me.
Rich, I've done a lot of interviews. This is the one I've been looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me.
Yeah. If anyone's interested, they can come Tuesday mornings at St. Paul's. Yeah. And thank you for watching Mr. Berman's community. And thank you, James, for being my guest.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah. And I want to thank our viewers. And
the producers.
Yeah. And the producers. Okay. And thank you for joining Mr. Berman's community.